All right, well, welcome everyone to the December 2020 meeting of the Mississippi PowerShell User Group. Tonight we have Microsoft MVP Mike Kanakis with us, and he'll be presenting Getting Started with Secrets Management for PowerShell. Take it away, Mike.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. Tonight, as David said, we're going to be talking about the Microsoft Secrets Management module. And this is going to be like one-on-one. Let's get our feet wet. Let's get it installed. Let's figure out how to make some secrets and how to use those secrets in like simple passing authentication. Probably have about 30 to 40 minutes worth of content. There's plenty of time for questions. What I figured I'd do is we'll go through this together. If anybody wants to follow along at home, I'll give you links. You can install the modules as we go. We can set up some secrets if you like on your machine along with mine, and you can follow along with me. And if you prefer to just watch, that's fine too. So for those who don't know, I think most of the people in this meeting know who I am. This is my first time I get to say I'm a Microsoft MVP, so yay for that. I lead the Research Triangle PowerShell User Group, and I work for Invisalign. My official title is an Infrastructure Tools Engineer, but I'm basically a glorified AD admin who does Azure, GPO, PKI, SSO, and focus on automation. You find me online on Twitter, my website, networkadm.in, and my user group is rtpsug.com. So what are we going to be talking tonight? I'm going to go through a little bit of a module explainer. We'll talk about installing the module, how to do it. We'll walk through some secrets management, just add, remove, read, that kind of basic stuff, registering a vault. And then at the end, I want to show you a bolt-on add-on for KeePass. The module is a pre-release module, and they've made add-on modules from the community to have your secrets management work with various vaults. KeePass is one of the vaults, so I figured I'd show you how that works. And that's it for our slides tonight. So let's jump in and look at some demos. So before we do that, I got to get logged in on my machines. All right, so I have two machines here. One machine is all set up, and one machine is blank. So we'll try doing it live, and if it doesn't work, I have the machine as a backup ready to go. So let's get signed in here. And this one, we're just going to log in locally for now. All right, so I have some notes I'm going to be using as I go along to remind me of some things to pass along. I have some things I could pass into the chat as well. Is there a way I can get the chat up as well? You can't break out the chat, can you? All right. Let's do this. I'll share this over here, and let's move it back and forth. All right. How's that, David, for size? Good?
Yep, that'll work.
All right. All right, so we're talking about secrets management tonight, and this is taken mostly from a blog post from Sydney Smith from the Microsoft PowerShell team. I'm going to pop this in the chat here. You can read this blog and you will get a pretty good walkthrough of everything that I'm going to do tonight, at least the basics, how to get set up. If you want to play along at home, we're going to be using these two modules here, the Secrets Management module and the SecretStore. And then eventually we will add on the KeePass module for secret management. And let me explain these a little bit because they may not make sense if you haven't read the article or you don't know what's going on. So there's two pieces here. The Secrets Management module, that's the engine that Microsoft wrote to handle secrets and the encryption of secrets. It uses the Windows Crypto DLL, Windows Crypto API. It's in the article, it tells you about it. And it's significantly stronger than the stuff that they've put out in the past. Now, These are preview modules, and the article goes on to say that since these are not considered GA yet, they are pre-release. So you have to use a special switch to install them, which I'm going to get to in a second. Okay. So the secrets module, the secret management module, is the engine that creates the encryption for the secrets that you want to store. The secret store is a place where they get saved on your machine. And as I mentioned, KeePass is another module that you can run to have a different location to store your secrets. And the way to think of this secret store and in the KeePass is think of these as translators for the engine. When you install the module, the engine knows how to talk to whatever repository you're trying to save them in through that module, and it allows it the ability to talk to it and be able to use the correct language and all that good stuff to be able to save the information. So the secret store is a local, it's stored on your local machine. I do not know where it is, but it's local to your machine. It is not Credential Manager, is separate from that. KeePass is a connector that's going to allow it to connect to your KeePass database. KeePass is a downloadable app that you run a local database. I did that because it was easy to show that one. So my point here is that the secret management module is the engine that does the work, and then you install where you want to install your secrets. So I'm going to be using the secret store. That's also what they've outlined in the module in the article. Another option is the KeePass Vault. There's also one for HashiCorp, LastPass, and a few others. This is all community stuff, so that's why it's not GA yet. The secret module and the secret store are from Microsoft. KeePass was written by, I think, Justin Grody, and there's some other modules out there by community members, but there's definitely room to improve on these things, so that's why they're all pre-release stuff. So let's talk about how most people are probably doing password management now, or let's not even say password management, but dealing with your passwords that you are working with. Then this is something that I've done many times where I will use get credential to save my credentials to a variable, and then I can use that variable later on for storing. I have credentials stored there now, and I can use that to pass to my scripts. It makes it convenient. The problem is this isn't very secure. You can see here, just a simple password, right? We reverse that. So saving our passwords in variables or any kind of like local file on the system really isn't the way to go. We really want to have our passwords saved in something a little bit more robust, and that's what the secrets management module is all about. And what the secrets management module does is, if you're familiar with like a LastPass, you have a vault, and the vault has a master password. Well, this is basically the same idea, but it allows you to do it at the command line, so you can leverage the vault for your scripts. So the way to get started with that is to go ahead and install this stuff. Let me just ask so I can get an idea of who's doing what, because I don't want to jump ahead too fast. Is there anybody on the call tonight that wants to do this along with me? Because if that's the case, I would be more than happy to walk through each step and make sure people are comfortable. Is there anybody that's actually going to do an install tonight? All right, I'm going to take that as a no. So maybe we can, oh, June's going to do it. Okay, great. And Terry's already got one set up. Okay, so I'm going to talk to June a little bit here. So June, if you want to install the module, here's commandlet. The commandlet is also in that article for the link that I sent. Now there's a couple of gotchas here. This pre-release switch is a newer switch, and if you are trying to install this in Windows PowerShell version 5, you need a newer version of PowerShell Get. The one that comes the PowerShell get module. The one that comes built in doesn't support that. I learned that the hard way. So if anybody's in that situation, I can help you out with that. That is going to be this command here. All right, so if you are running PowerShell 7, you can install that first command that I did. I'm going to take that for a second here, and I'm going to pop over to my second machine. I just want to show you guys real quick here. This is my VM, if you can remember the wallpaper, my VM that's already set up already. So just to give you an idea, I have a vault here already. Get secret vault, if I could spell. Vaults demo. Get secret info. So what I did here is I typed 2 commands that just showed me that I have a vault called vault demo. There's another one on here, but I just picked that one. And then I wanted to see the secrets that are in that vault. And when I did that, because it's the first time I'm hitting the vault, it's asking me for the master password. All right, and when I do that, it's also asking for the other one as well. I have 2 vaults installed here. Sorry about that, guys. So you can see here I have a number of credentials stored in here, and I have 2 different vaults, vault demo and test vault. This test vault is the vault that I'm going to be using for the KeePass part later on. So this is there, but obviously if you're doing the install, you're not here yet. So we're going to jump over to another screen, and I'm going to play along with you guys. All right, so we're going to pull down the module from the PowerShell gallery. That should install. Did I hit a button? It looks. Okay, simple install. You have to do the module for the secret management module. That's the engine. And then I'm using the secret management store, so I'm going to put that right behind it. Okay, and then if I remember correctly, the article instructs us to relaunch your session. So everybody, anybody having a problem? Can you switch stores? Are you asking, can you, so you can have multiple stores installed? Yes, you can. You're going to install a vault for each store that you want to use. And then when you save your command, save your secrets, you just call the vault out, and then it knows which module to use to send it to the vault. So I've done the install. I'm just going to relaunch my session here. Okay, so now since I got this over here, I'm gonna move this over here so I can look at the chat. And all right, so as I said, I'm not going to do the PowerShell 5 install here. I'm just going to do the PowerShell 7. But if you're looking to do PowerShell 5, you need to pull down the newer version of PowerShell Get. That's just install module PowerShell Get -allow clobber, and that is so that you can consume the allow pre-release switch that's on the install module commands from prior. Can you paste the command in for a second? Sure, I'd be happy to. And this is the way that I'm going to do the demo tonight, just kind of casual like this. So if anybody wants to actually jump on mic and ask a question, feel free. You're not interrupting at all. So I know Stephen wanted the second command. June, are you okay with your install? You have the 2 modules installed? All right. And Stephen, I know you'll get caught up if you're not there already, so I'm going to move on a little bit. Okay, so we'll skip the PowerShell 5 stuff. So that's all there is to installing the modules. It's very simple. The rest is what I consider vault tasks. And the very first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to register a vault. And to do that, I'm going to throw that command in the chat. I'll show you over here as well. The command to do that is this guy right here, register secret vault. You have to give your vault a name. I called mine vault demo. You have to specify the module name, and you have to decide the very first vault that you install. It should default, and they had the allow clobber on there. I don't know why that's needed, but that was required in the thing. Now, I also will say something that this stuff that we're installing here tonight, this is preview version 6 of the secrets management module, and I think it's preview 4 of the SecretStore. I should have probably told you that if you have earlier versions of that, you need to uninstall those first and then install these. So in the document that I sent over, there's an uninstall module command that precedes this. I hope that didn't screw anybody up. I think everybody was starting fresh, so that should not be an issue. But if you have previous versions of the Secrets Management Vault, this version, preview 6, does not work with the older ones. You have to uninstall those modules, reinstall the new version, and then you can continue forward. All right. I'm going to move this over here for a second. I think I put that register command in the chat. I did. Okay, good. Can you change the default vault later? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think you can. However, it's just a parameter when you select your secrets, and basically think of it as like the default parameter on any commandlet. If you leave it off, it's just going to go to the default. If you are stuck with that, you just have to dash vault name and give the vault name. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but I haven't tried changing the default. Maybe we could try that later. Okay, so we have our vault registered. Let me do that on my other machine here. And I'm going to call my thing vault demo. Okay, so now what you notice when we set this vault up, because what we did is we just basically built a vault. It didn't ask for a password, right? And you might be wondering, well, where's the password? Well, when you add your first secret, it's going to ask you for the password. And adding a secret is very simple. So I'm going to add a secret. I'm going to add a secret of just some text. And I called the secret text string. Okay, so just to show everybody on the screen here, the way you add a secret is just using the set secret command. You know, before we do that, maybe we should do a get. Let's do GCM module Microsoft Secret Management. Okay, so what you see on the screen here are the commands that are able to be used with the vault itself, and it's pretty straightforward stuff. You have a couple of gets, a couple of sets, you have a test, a register, and an unregister, and they're very simple. This is for reading a secret, this is for information about the secret, and this is accessing a vault. This is registering, removing, and the other two are to set vaults and set secrets. So I believe we can change the default vault later on, but to create a secret is just very simple. It's just set secret. So let's jump in and do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set a secret, and I'm going to call the secret. Now this, let me just jump in here and put this the right way so we don't confuse anybody. So dash name, and the name that I put here is going to be the name that is displayed in my secret vault. And then the secret is going to be what I want as the secret. So if I do that, as I mentioned earlier, when we registered the vault, it didn't ask for a password. So now it's asking me to enter a password. This is going to be my master password for the vault. This is not something you're going to have to enter every time. It's only going to be entered once you invoke the vault and then there's a timeout period of 900 seconds of inactivity, I believe it is, which turns out to be 15 minutes. So if you're not using it very often, once every 15 minutes, you'll have to put in your master password. If you're using it regularly throughout the day, you probably won't even get impacted by the master password. So I'm going to set a password here. It's going to ask for a verification. All right, so now if I say get secret, I got it, whoops. Okay, so I did a command called get secret info. That's how I list the secrets that are in my vault. And you can see now that I have a secret called text string. Now, what are secrets? Secrets can be anything. You don't just think of them as passwords. They could be API keys. You could even just use common parameters that you don't want to have to keep typing out, and you just want to suck them in very easily. And I'll show you a little bit of that later on. But for what we're doing right now, secrets are any text that we want to encrypt and store. So notice we didn't have anything that said username and password, right? Another example is like if you wanted to save your API keys, you could do that. So I have that here, right? So here I'm setting a secret. I call it API key, and then my dash secret and my key name that I put in there, right? And I do that, go back and I say get secret info. I have 2 secrets, right? Tells me what they are. They're just string values, and it tells me the vault that I'm in. How is this going so far? Is everybody on board with what I'm doing? I think this is pretty straightforward stuff. Probably not too many questions at this point, but I want to stop and make sure. Okay, so
Sounds like we're all good.
yeah, okay. So Don sounds like he knows the module and the vaults pretty well. You may know it even better than I do. So Don, if you have more info to add, please feel free to chime in. I'm here to show this off. I'm not going to tell you that I have every nook and cranny of this figured out yet. But I will say I'm using this on my workstation at work, and I've been having no issues with it. Works great. So let's go get one of those secrets now. So just if you're following along, we set 2 secrets here, right? Set secret, text string, set secret, API key. Now I just want to get that secret back, right? So I want to get that secret. Pop that in there. What I get back is a secure string, right? So I can say convert from secure string. Now I'm going to stop here for a second. What I did is I went and I got that secret out of the vault and I converted it back to some plain text. But the difference here is that if you remember earlier when I said I started, I said that what I usually do is I would type something like this, where I would do it get credential, save my credentials to a variable, and that's how I would work, right? I basically did the same thing here, but we have one important difference is there's no variable in here, right? So what I did is I said, go grab the secure string, and I said, go get it from the vault, right? So I basically checked that out and I'm grabbing it, but I don't have it saved to a variable. I have nothing to recall later on. And then I wanted to reverse it because it was just plain text, and you could see here it is. So you could see already I'm interacting with the vault and I'm pulling stuff out of it as I needed, right? So that makes it a lot more convenient than just popping in a variable and have to worry about variables laying around your machine and things like that. So let me get my spot here for a second. Okay, so now if I wanted to, I can do exactly what I did before. I can save that to a variable, right? And then I could use that later on. So if I wanted to like invoke command to something and pass that variable along, I can do that as well. But I don't need to do that, right? I can, instead of saving it to a variable and recalling the variable all the time, I can actually just make a call to the vault directly and skip that part of having to save it to a variable. Now, I will say I do save them to variables sometimes just because it's convenient, right? But you don't have to. So I wanted to show you now how you get credentials in there, because if you notice, I've been saving strings. And if you say the set secret commandlet, and I look at the parameters on there, you're going to see there's not anything in here that says username and password, right? There's name and secret, but name is just the name that's going to be displayed in the vault, and secret is the actual information that it's going to put in there. So the way that you get your credentials, username and password, into the vault is you leverage the existing get credential command, right? So I'm going to show you how we do that now. So instead of trying to do something like this and trying to figure out where to put like a username and a password, what I'm going to, excuse me, let me go back here. Instead of doing it like this, where we say set a name and a secret, what we're going to do is we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to say, we're going to do, whoops, do I have? So what we're going to do here is I'm going to say set secret, and let me do this. CLS, I'm bouncing around a little bit here, guys. I apologize. Okay, so what I'm looking to do at this point is pull in, I want to set a secret based on my credentials. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a credential called cred MK. You can call it whatever you like, but I like to put monikers on the front of them so I know what they are. So it's a credential and it's my initials, right? And I'm just going to say get credential. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get prompted, right? So if I do MK lab, Kanakis, and I'm going to say, whoops. Okay. So now what happened is, if I go back and I say get secret info, you can see now I have a credential in there that's an actual credential and not just a string of text. Does that make sense? Did I lose anybody on that one?
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So now there's one important thing that I want to point out here. If you watched what I did, when I did this, it asked me for my username and password. I just want to point out maybe something that might not be so obvious. I have, this machine is not domain joined, but my other machine is domain joined. I have a lab. I put in a username and password. It didn't authenticate me. It just saved the username and password to a credential object. If I typed in the wrong password, I'm going to fail. So when you set your secrets, you have to make sure you got your credentials right, because it's going to accept anything that you input to the secret. When you actually go to use the credentials is when you'll actually be authenticated, and that's when you'll find out the wonderful part of you botched your password. So I also want to point out that it's very easy to make a mistake here. So I made this mistake myself. I want to point it out to you. You can do this. If you watch, you know what? Maybe probably need to blow this up a little bit. Is that too small for people? Is that a little better? Okay, so this is a valid command here. I'm saying set secret and I'm saying get credential. And if I do that, I'm going to call this MK dummy. And I'm going to set a password, PASSWORD, and that works. I wasn't expecting. Wasn't expecting to see that. Okay. I kind of screwed up my credential there, but the point I wanted to show you guys is because I left off the name parameter, it accepted it. And what it did is it put in what the object was, the member, as the name, and I didn't intend to do that. I kind of burned myself once when I was setting up this lab, and I was like, what the hell is that? And when I went back and I looked, it's because if you leave off the name parameter when you're ingesting your parameter, your secrets, it's going to pull in the member info and it's going to create a name for you, which when you go back and look at it, you may not know what that is. Now, reversing the credentials from a secure string is a lot harder. So what I ended up doing is just blowing that away. And maybe that's a good time to show you how we can remove so simply remove secret, and you just need the name, right? So remove secret, name, and in this case, the name is system management, like that, right? Oh, I didn't put a vault in, so this is vault demo, and that's so now if we say get secret info, and now you can see my credential is gone. So you see, not the most challenging stuff to do, to install a vault, set up a vault, pass some credentials in, pull credentials out, remove credentials, right? Pretty simple stuff. That's why I said tonight was going to be like a 101 and we could actually do it all together. How are we doing? I see Stephen Judd is typing a question. I'm going to pause here. Maybe he's got some information that I can offer up. What happens if you pipe a secret into set secret? What happens if you pipe a secret into set secret? I'm not sure what you mean there. Get credential, let's give it a try. That worked.
So I'm going to jump in on the voice because this is too much to type. I
Yeah.
noticed I did one of my favorite things in the entire world is I ran get help to look at the parameters and to see what the parameters were for get secret info or get secret set secret. I keep saying the wrong thing, sorry. And I noticed that name is position 0 and is required true. Secret is also required true, position 1, but secret is the only one that accepts pipeline input. I'm sorry, secret info also accepts pipeline input. So does secure string secret. So I was curious what would happen when you piped into, or when you piped something into the set secret. How would it handle it?
Well, I'm curious what would happen if we did that. So Stephen brings up a good point. So when I was preparing this information, I basically did the same thing. I just lived in the help file. And I'm happy to say that there's enough info in there to help you get along on each commandlet, and along with the link to the original article for how to get it installed. I think anybody can probably get this up and running with just using the help files. But if I was to do this, see, it's prompting for a name.
Yeah, and you could have renamed that secret, Mike.
Okay.
You could have done get secret system, whatever the type name was for credential info, pipe to set secret dash name, and then give it your new name.
I didn't think of that one. That's a good idea. All right. So that's kind of like, I hope people don't mind that this is a little rough around the edges. This is simply like, let's set up the module and let's do it together and let's figure out how it works. I'm not going to sell myself here as the be all and end all expert on the secrets module, but I just have been using it for a couple of weeks now in my daily driver at work, and it's been working great for me. And I thought, let's start to share some information. So I totally okay if people come and chime in with more information that maybe I haven't discovered yet, like the renaming of a secret. I didn't even think of that. All right, so let's see where we are. So There's something else I wanted to point out here, which is this module is user specific. So I'm going to digress here for a second and say, in my past life, I would work with multiple PowerShell consoles open at the same time. One is like a standard user, one is an admin user. I have since kind of moved away from that world, lived in a standard user credential and using WinRM to invoke to my DCs to do most of my admin work or to automation boxes. And that makes life a lot easier because when I jump over to my admin console, if I was running two PowerShell shells, one is a standard user, one is a second user, the vault info is not going to be there because the vault is user specific. Now, if I'm using a third-party vault, that may be a different story. But with the SecretStore, that's stored in the user profile. It's user specific. So if I'm logged in as MK and I have a bunch of vaults, a bunch of secrets set up in a vault, and I go over to MK admin, those secrets are not going to be there because that vault is not available to that user. So if that's your situation, like I was, you can set up vaults in both profiles, obviously, but you may want to think about naming your vault names properly because if you use the same vault name on both, you may get confused when you're hitting a particular vault if all the secrets aren't in both vaults. It can get a little confusing. So just a little tip there. Really think you should be leveraging WinRM in those situations. If your environment is set up to do that, it makes life a lot easier. And I wanted to show something along those lines, if possible. So let me jump over to my other machine for a second. Okay, so all I did is I switched over to a machine that's set up and domain joined. So what I wanted to do was show you how you can pull secrets out and not have to sort of save them to variables or interact with them. So what I'm going to do here is my setup that we have here is I have a DC and two clients. One client is domain joined and one is not. I'm going to make a session variable. I'm going to create a PS session to my DC1, and I need credentials for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call for my secret out of the vault. So now in the old days, what I would have most likely done is done this. I didn't save it here. I would have done my cred mk admin equals get credential mk lab / mk admin, right? And I get prompted for a password. I put the password in and I'd save it as a variable. And then I would go back here. And instead of having all this nonsense here, I would have done just cred mk admin, right? There's not necessarily anything wrong with doing that. That's a fine way to work. But this variable here is not the most protected in the world. I'm sort of going against the grain of what I would have, what is possible with the secrets management vault, which is now, instead of having to save my credentials to some temporary variable that I use, I can just say, hey, let me just go hit the vault whenever I need it. And I can pass it into any script with the exception of that master password. So there's one catch, which is the master password is going to kick back in after 15 minutes of inactivity. There is a switch, which I don't recommend you use, but you can disable the master password, which then obviously will allow you to call your passwords at any time without any restrictions. But I don't really think that's the greatest idea. So what we're going to do here, you can see my vault timed out. So I'm going to put in my master password. And that is so awesome. Is my DC on? Yes, it is. Yeah, okay. Let's try that one again. Let's see what happened here. Is it? Come on. Oh, that's why. Helps if you use the right server name. Okay. So now what we have is we have a session, a PS session set up to connect to that machine. So now if I was to invoke, now I don't know how familiar you are with Windows remoting. There's two ways that I can remote to a machine. I can go interactively with enter PS session, right? Computer, and then credential, right? Or I can set up a session and I can do an invoke command and use the session variable, which I like to use better because I go back to it over and over again. And what I'm going to do now is invoke command. I'm going to say, let's go to that session. Now, here's the great thing about that session. This session has already been authenticated. So because I've authenticated once and I've pulled these credentials in from my vault, I don't have to bother with that anymore. Right? So now I can just say script block. Who am I? Right? And I'll get back an answer. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to do this here. Let me pull this in. I'm now going to create another session. This one's going to be called vagrant. I'm going to just pull in my vagrant user ID here. I'm going to do the same thing, right? Create a new session, although this time I'm going to type the right DC name. And then for my credential, I'm going to go and I'm going to get my vagrant credentials out of the vault. So now when I do that, if I go up here and I say, let's change my session. And if I'm losing anybody, please slow me down. But I just want to show you here that when I do that, you see here, I've invoked to another machine. Who am I? I'm a different user now. And the whole time here, other than setting up a session variable, I didn't have any credentials saved to pass in. So yeah, let me, a little better. Sure. So I ran through that pretty quick. I hope I didn't lose people on that. But the key part here is that when I have a command that has a credential parameter, I don't have to actually input credentials. I don't have to save them to a variable. I can actually go to my vault. I can pick the vault name and the secret name and just call it on the fly, and it'll suck it in, pass it in to the commandlet, and then I'm ready to go. And this is basically how I work my day, right? I create session variables for remote sessions, WinRM sessions. They're pre-authenticated, and I just keep going back to those sessions all day long. Yeah, so Jeff brings up a really good point. The idea of having a master password on the vault, this is not something that you're going to use in automation. This is for interactive usage, right? If you want to do it in a CI/CD thing, there's going to be a completely different method for that. This is not the way to go. This is for using like your everyday driver scripts and terminal. Could you increase the slot? So the master password is not extension specific. The master password is vault specific. Does that make sense? I can make as many vaults as I want, or I can have just one. However, what I'm going to show in a little bit here is how to connect to a KeePass vault. So that's going to create a second vault. And that's because when I installed the KeePass software, part of the install process is you have to build a vault, right? So I'm connecting to an existing vault. So Jason, you're asking about might not require a master password. There is definitely a switch that's listed in help if you want to shut off the master password on a vault. However, I can't say that you can shut off the password on a third-party vault that has a requirement of a password through the third-party software. I can't imagine that PowerShell is going to be able to override that. But there is two vaults that you can use on your machine. I'm using the SecretStore, and there is one that uses Credential Manager. I did not look into that one. I don't know what's involved in that one, but this is the one that the PowerShell team recommended to start with, that's kind of what I've been playing with. And for the SecretStore module, the default database that I'm using, you can shut the password off there, but I don't know. I don't really love that idea. There's a lot of gotchas that come with that one. So I hear you, Jason, but I will tell you, I don't know where this module is as far as going like GA. The intention I get is that they are still looking for help from the community, for ideas, and for coding up some of the pieces. So this is an excellent opportunity to kind of put forth those ideas, either reaching out on social media to the PowerShell team or attending the community calls and sort of putting your ideas forward for how you could see Secrets Vault used. Now, it may also be that when you talk to someone like Sydney Smith, who's in charge of the project, or Tyler, who's probably helping build a lot of the module behind the scenes, they may already have use cases that we can't use yet. They just haven't built them out into code, but they are spec'd out in what they want. So I was just going to show this one simple sample of how to pass credentials. I can do this again if anybody's confused by that or not sure of what happened there. People are pretty quiet. Is there any questions that anybody has that I didn't cover, or if I went through a little quick? I'm not doing a lot of stuff about like unregistering a vault and removing secrets because they're just commandlets and I think they're pretty easy to figure out. I wanted to show sort of the big nuggets, the takeaway, which is install, how to create a secret, how to get a secret, how to pass a secret, and then I'm going to finish up with doing some KeePass stuff. I've been writing mine down. You could always use SecretStore without a password to provide a password to another vault. That's interesting. So Jeff is also talking about something that is obvious. This is a pre-release module. Definitely not anything that I would say would become your everyday daily driver, but I have been using it because I don't have any secrets management set up at work that I really love other than my own personal stuff. And it's been working pretty reliably. I only have a couple of secrets saved in there and I've been able to get them and pass them without problems. However, there are some notes in some of the documentation about the possibility of corruption. So I don't know that I would rely on this for everything. All right, so I think I'm going to keep moving here. I wanted to show off, so did my sessions. I wanted to show you how it works with KeePass. All right, and for those unfamiliar with KeePass, KeePass is an open source password storage utility that you download, you run locally on your machine. It creates an encrypted vault and you can pass stuff into it. I don't use KeePass as an everyday thing. I just did this because it's one of the modules that are available and I have some experience with KeePass from a long time ago. So what I've done here is I've installed the software, and part of the install process is you build a database. And I put one password in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to do this on the machine just to show you here. So if I get secret vault name test vault. Okay, that is the vault. That's the KeePass vault. And if I say get secret name KeePass vagrant vault test vault, you could see I'm pulling out. This is just vagrant. it's right behind the window here. You could see I'm reading from that vault. So if you like the idea of having a GUI that you can interact with your passwords, this might be a nice option. KeePass is open source. It's been around forever. A lot of people feel that it's a very reliable password management system. I don't know that it has plugins for browsers to pass passwords in on the internet or anything like that, but you can do lots of things here. But the point here is that that module, the KeePass module, is a connector to the KeePass database. So now I'm reading pre-existing secrets. If you don't like working at the command line and you want to go through the GUI, you can add secrets in the GUI and then you can call them through the script and vice versa. So if you like, I can show you how we do that. Jump back over to my other machine and let's walk through an install. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I didn't set up Chocolate on, did I? My son just came in to remind me that I need to put him to bed soon. All right, so I'm just going to minimize my VMs here for a second. We should have the KeePass application here. So all I've done is I've leveraged Chocolatey to do an install from the internet of the application KeePass. And when we fire up that application, we have to, I guess it set it up for me. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. My other demo I did by hand and I knew where it saved the database. So file, new database, let's do that. And let's put it in, let's see. KeePass. And I'm just going to call it database. I'm just trying to match up what's in my demo so I don't screw myself up here. And set a master password. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so it created some sample entries for me. I'm not interested in that right now. So what I've done here is I've installed KeePass into Windows. But what I haven't done is installed the module into PowerShell. So if you remember earlier, I provided a link. I'm going to put it in the chat here real quick. What happened to my chat? All along at home, that's the commandlet there. And I'm going to paste this in here. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I gave you the wrong link. The link that I just pasted into the chat is the link to the module on PowerShell Gallery if you want to read about it. That's the command if you want to do the install. So let me do that. Okay, install module KeePass. Now this doesn't have much to it because what this is going to do is just basically be a connector to a KeePass database. All right, so I've installed the module. And now what I need to do is I need to register a vault. And I will tell you that this is a level of complexity a little bit higher than the previous vault that we registered for the SecretStore because we didn't have to pick location. So for this one, what we're doing is we're going to register a vault. I'm going to copy this command out here. Come on. Copy. I'm going to throw this into the chat right here. That's not it. Where's my other window? Sorry, guys, too many windows. And this one's a little more involved. I'm going to paste it on the screen here and I'll show you and we can talk about it real quick. So what we're doing here is we're doing the same command. We're doing a register secret vault. We're giving it a name and we're going to call the module, which was that SecretManagement.KeePass. But what we have to do here is we have to give it a vault parameter. And in the vault parameter, we have to pass the path to the existing file. So this is in Justin's documentation. I pulled this straight out of his documentation. So this is not something that's impossible to figure out. I found it on the PowerShell gallery. But basically what I'm doing is I'm registering a vault and I'm pointing it at this database file, which if you remember is what I installed on the local machine. And I installed it to a folder called KeePass, right? And why is there nothing?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
So could you uninstall KeePass at this point and then just talk directly to that database file? I mean, how does this work exactly? Is it actually using the app, or is it able to read directly that DBX or whatever that credential file is?
I don't think it's using the app. The app is an interface for you to interface with the database, right?
Yeah.
The database is an encrypted database.
Yeah.
You're interacting with the database. But to your point, I understand why do I need the interface? I think I picked this module because some people have existing password solutions and they want to dump passwords into an existing solution. For me, that would be LastPass. But I learned at my last group meeting, Gaston is on this call, the LastPass module relies on the CLI, and the CLI is only for Linux. There is no CLI on the Windows side that I know of for LastPass. So I'm a LastPass user, but that's a deal breaker for me because there's no way for the module to talk on my machine, as far as I know.
I guess technically someone could then store this password database file on a network share and multiple administrators simultaneously access it.
Yeah, but I picked this because this is what there's extensions for, right?
Yeah.
So the extension list is also HashiCorp, LastPass for Linux, Credential Manager, and KeePass. That's all that's been created so far because Microsoft has only created the Secrets Management Engine and the Secret Management Store or Credential Manager. The other modules have come from the community. So basically no one has written a module yet that works for LastPass for a Windows user or for Azure Key Vault. Maybe you don't need Azure Key Vault because Azure Key Vault is a completely different beast. But what you're talking about, I just think there's going to be better solutions out than kind of doing it this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked in a lot of shops that are small with guys passing around passwords or saving them in spreadsheets. And even though that's all wrong, I know people are doing it. So this is a step up and I get that. But for someone like someone commented, Jeff, about CI/CD, I just don't see anybody doing it this way. But this is a convenient thing. If you're a KeePass user, you got a way to bring your existing database in right now and you can use the command line.
Cool.
All right, so if I go back here for a second, I may have screwed myself here with the, come on, hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. I may have screwed the pooch here with my chocolatey install. Oh, we had an hour already. Yeah, just got to give me a second. My machine's restarted. I'm sorry. So does the general idea of the secrets management module make sense to most people from what they've seen? Or did I sort of miss the mark here? Gasson, you're right about the Bitwarden CLI. I have to play around with that one as well. All right, so we're back over here. Let me fire that back up. All right. Hey, look at that. All right, so now I've registered a vault. Now you can see I have 2 vaults registered in PowerShell, and vault demo, my first one, is the default, and test vault, the KeePass vault, is not my default one. Set the vault. Let's figure out how to use it. Name. Pretty easy. Okay, so if I want to change my default vault, it's just set default vault, test, and the name of the vault. So now if I go up here, now you could see my vaults are different. Over here, test vault default was false, and down here, test vault is now true. So we answered our question. We can change our default vault. And now if I want to say get secret, get secret info, vaults, test vault. Ask you for my master password, and there are the sample entries. I think I screwed up my chocolate install and I have 2 going there, but you can see those are the sample entries that came in from when we did the default install of KeePass. So I'm using the GUI, I'm using the command line. I can use either one in this case. I'm not going to use KeePass for my personal use. I'm going to stick with the SecretStore, but it's a pretty nice option to have a GUI if you feel like you need something and you're not comfortable with the command line. But let me just take a look at the question. I'm biased against. Dave Carroll, by the way, when you register the vault, it locks in the path of the extension module. Okay. So questions? What can I help people understand here? There's not a lot more to share because the modules don't do a whole bunch more than this. We've covered installation, we've covered creating secrets, grabbing secrets, passing them into a secret, removing a secret, registering a vault. I didn't unregister a vault, but I'm sure you can imagine it's just unregistered vault name, and it's gone. We covered the SecretStore, we covered a third-party module. That's kind of everything I wanted to go through tonight. How does SecretManagement handle folders in KeePass? That is a really great question. I have no idea. Backup. In other words, how do we back this up? I have no idea. I haven't hit backup yet. To be fair, I haven't figured out where the SecretStore is stored on the machine yet. and I haven't done backup. So let's see if we can find that. I'm going to jump over to my other machine because this one's a little bit more functional. All right, so I'm trying to think about a backup here for a second. So you have two options. Backup could be the database as is, or backup could be dump out my secrets to plain text and store them in some paper vault location. That's not really what I'm interested in. But where would we have backup information? I would say probably help get secret vault. Name, string, there isn't much there. That's not it. I'm going to say that there's probably not a backup solution built into this. Keep in mind cross-plat. Yes, it does. Okay, so let's try that folder situation again. Let's see what we get there. You know what? I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to do it on the other machine. File new. How do you do a folder in here? Does anybody know? Point me in the right direction. Add entry. I don't see anything about folders.
Yeah, Mike, on the key on the toolbar, there's a little drop down. That's normally
So that's
where I-
adding an entry, right?
I think it's the icon three to the left. It's the far left icon. It's the new page. Next one over. Yeah.
That's a new
No, that's new
database.
database.
Yeah,
I know
so
it
this
does.
is open a database, save, add entry, but there's
Oh.
a drop down.
Right click general.
What was general? Oh, I see what you're saying. Add group. Add group. Test group. There we go. Okay, so let's say sub secret. Okay. All right, so now if we come over here and we say get secret info vault test vault. Yeah, not awesome. No, this isn't right because my default. Oh, so Windows. Oh, so I do remember now. So there's a little bit of a gotcha here. I do remember reading in Justin's notes that he only has it working for PS credentials now. So that's going to be this Windows section here. So can we add a subgroup here? Yeah, add a group. Let's call this another subgroup. Okay, and then add an entry, MK2. Okay, so now if we go back here, yeah. So Justin did ping me and say,
are you actually saving the database? Don't you have to save it?
That's a good point. Well, let me get this machine out of the way. Save. So now let's see what we got here. There it is. So there's this one and that one. So because I made them all PS credentials, so they work. So basically, folders are gone in the view. It just flattens it out. But that's pretty cool. Let's see.
So when you add a new secret to that vault, do we see it? I mean, we should be able to see it in the database, right?
Oh, come on. Oh. Local store. So there it is. So this is the path. Thank you, Jeff. So the path is going to be, it's in app data local Microsoft PowerShell secret management. So I guess we could try importing that from another machine and see what happens. That's probably, although the vault registry, I would think probably is what's going to make that tough.
Do a recurse on that.
The files in the vault registry are plain text. It's just a JSON file. The files in local store are binary or encrypted in some fashion. What I don't know is if they're encrypted with something like the data protection key that only works on your machine.
Well, where else would you say? Well, unless they included the crypto API with the module, that would be the difference, right?
I mean, so for backup, all I need to do is make sure on my machine here that I back up those files, to my offline storage, and then if I have to restore them for some reason, I can just copy those files back and I should be good to go. I don't know if I can necessarily, and I can try this, if I can copy that to my laptop and automatically have all my stuff in it. That'd be something else to test. Because if I can do that, then what I'll do is I'll just move those files to OneDrive and add hard links to this location and app data, and then have my store shared in OneDrive. And so between my desktop and my laptop, I have a common shared secret.
Like a junction point kind of
Yeah.
setup. Yeah.
Yeah.
So shameless plug. So what you guys got tonight was me playing on my own, learning how this works. My group has Sydney Smith and Justin Grody doing this talk on January 20th. So Sydney is going to be talking about the secret management module itself. She'll give some high level about it, walk you through it, and talk about what the plans are. And Justin was going to jump into how he uses it and some of the modules that he's created. So I would fully expect that those two will offer up way more information than I will, and maybe these ideas about backups and stuff like that, we could ping them with that. But so if you're interested in this, you can come back and join my group on January 20th for a much deeper dive with them than I did tonight. But that's an interesting point, Jeff. That would be pretty cool to dump that out to OneDrive and link to it.
And that would might also imply that you would be able to use it on Linux machines as well. I mean, so if it's portable, it should be portable between the platforms that the secret management module supports itself, right? I mean, that's kind of why I'm
Do
thinking.
they actually say that this module works cross-platform? I didn't look. Does Secrets Management support? Well, I know it works in PowerShell 7 because I'm using it in PowerShell 7, but I'm
Same with
using it
me.
on Windows. I'm wondering if it's using, because some of the crypto stuff only works on Windows.
Yeah.
Or is there something in .NET Core that is cross-platform crypto-wise?
Jeff, this is Don speaking.
Yeah.
I usually run on a Macintosh, and I know that it's not encrypted, but that SecretStore does work. It just does not encrypt it the way that the Windows platform would.
But it's protected.
In the same way that your personal directory should be protected from others.
Okay.
Not great, but not terrible.
Yeah, that might be the one case where KeePass, like David mentioned, that David Wise mentioned, that the if you use KeePass as your database, you can always back that up, and then just register it on all your systems that the KeePass extension supports.
So it looks like they include a binary, or excuse me, the binary is built against something that's possibly cross-platform, because it's saying it works with Windows, PowerShell, and PowerShell 6. And then they put in an extra DLL to help some with Windows compatibility. And I would imagine at this point that Windows is sort of assumed, but it's a cross-platform kind of deal if it's PowerShell 7. So I don't have any other things to demo tonight. I know this was a little bit hacky. This was just me kind of putting together and sharing how to get yourself up and running with the Secrets Management module quick and dirty. I knew it was going to go like this, and I was okay with that. I hope it wasn't too hacky for you, but I do know that we're going to have, for my group speakers coming up in January, that I'll obviously do a bit more polish than what I did tonight. But the idea was to show you that honestly, in about 20 minutes time, you can get the modules installed, get some secrets in, and you can start passing them around to your scripts. And then I think there's a lot of things that we can do to make this go forward, like Jeff suggested, putting it out to OneDrive, putting some hard links to it, and then you could share it between machines. Questions, thoughts, comments? What do you think? I'm going to stop sharing here for a second.
Mike, this is Don again.
Hey, Don.
One of the first things that I encountered when I was playing with the extension code is that essentially when you already use some kind of vault management, you're used to a certain structure, you're used to certain types of information that you can store. And your first question in your head is like, okay, how does Secret Management support that? And depending on how the extensions are written, there's really two different views that the author can take. They can take we just need the Secret Management get, set, the data types that we know about from PowerShell, and they can write those entries into a store and pull them out. But that doesn't do anything for the people that expect them to use the secrets they've already populated in their vault of choice. So the second approach is, well, we need to basically map the way that a particular vault stores information with the way that PowerShell gives us in terms of its data types. And you can try to marry the two as close as possible so that you can actually see equivalent information between the two. So there's really two different approaches, and I've seen both taken, and that can be a little, disconcerting for the end user.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I would beg to differ a little bit, because I feel like there's probably three solutions here, right? So for the everyday user who has no credential management now, they don't have some big commercial product, right? They have nothing. This fills that gap. But then there's a lot of solutions on the market today that people are using, right? KeePass, one of them, HashiCorp, that someone has written something for LastPass, that gets you to possibly using what you come with. But I think in the commercial space, this is not going to be your solution in any way, shape, or form. I think it's going to be Azure Key Vault. It's going to be the commercial products, and those commercial products are to come with their modules to access their database. So
But
I hear what you're saying, but I don't see this building up and being the be all and end all secrets management module that works with every tool out there. This is no different than the PowerShell the PowerShell CLI for VMware, right? VMware built their module, you install their module to work with their environment.
with their product, which they engineer and have complete control over.
Right, so that's my point. So I'm drawing blank on the password vault that most people use that I'm so happy I don't use anymore. My point is I would expect the vendor to provide the command line, the CLI, to access their password solution. I'm not disagreeing with you. CyberArk, thank you. I would say that when I buy CyberArk, CyberArk is going to be on the hook to give me a CLI to access their tool, and hopefully it's PowerShell compatible. That doesn't mean what you said is wrong. I'm just saying that I don't think that this is the something that's going to compare with a CyberArk, right? In scope,
Right.
or I think this is for the people on this call that are using PowerShell every day, need a way to deal with secrets easily, right? Maybe move a little bit into some bigger stuff. Secret Service.
I think of people at the PowerShell group meeting being a little bit ahead of the curve and actually being the developer types that are interested in how to do this themselves.
Yeah, but I think also, well, I may be wrong about this, but I think that the existing secrets management solutions that were available from Microsoft that relied on Cred Manager on the Windows box were known to be weak, right? So I think first and foremost this is them addressing, we've come up with a better solution. So you have a way to manage secrets on your Windows machine, on your cross-plat machine, PowerShell 6, PowerShell 7. I'd be curious to talk to Sydney and see what their plans are for bigger and better. It is interesting that Microsoft stopped at the SecretStore and the other modules came from the community. To me, that's telling. That just means maybe they're not working on it now, or maybe they have no intention. Because don't forget, they have a
pre-release.
Yeah, 100% could be that. But also remember, they're most likely gonna start to talk about Azure Key Vault somewhere along the way as probably a more robust solution, I would guess. Because that can be used with a CI/CD. So a couple of different ways to skin this. But if they're going to rely on the open source community to create modules, it's going to probably be spotty support.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Do you consider, say you're talking about a credential in the form of username and password, do you consider the username a secret as well? I'm just curious.
I know from the security side of the house, most people think of it that way. I know my buddy who's in security used to always yell at me and say, username is one half of the equation, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Look, I'm a sysadmin by default. I don't automatically think of the most secure thing, right? I kind of just want easy sometimes, right? But I understand that point. I think the other thing I would say is that people used to have 5, 6, 8 character passwords, and then there was a bunch of people that were doing the 12 and 14 and 16 character passwords, and they were the security people. And now the rest of the world is catching up, and everybody's starting to require these longer passwords, and everybody's realizing passwords are not great no matter what, right? So it's two-factor, it's biometric, it's something like that. At some point, the idea that the username is clear text or a known entity probably is something that people will want to hold back in the future.
Yeah.
I wanted to do Windows Hello, but I can't get it set up on my home machine. It doesn't recognize my third-party camera because I have a desktop at home.
Mike, the context behind that was, you know, as you were setting a secret, you have the option of setting a hash table as that value, or you could just have name be the username, right? And secret could have been just the plain password parameter.
So with the hash table, you say both would have been sort of hidden?
Well, what I'm getting at is, yeah, if you did a hash table, you could have had username be a property, password a property, or, you know, just like when you did a credential object. But the first time you went through that example, you specified name, and I guess that was the username or whatever, and then in the secret, the password. And I think what we're kind of saying here is that a good best practice is to not put the username in the name of the actual secret, and that the name of the secret is going to be just some other friendly name, maybe a functional friendly name.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
tomato.
Get secret info. Vault demo. So you're saying this is giving away the keys to the kingdom a little bit.
I'm just wondering how you feel about it. You know, I think this is, you know, everyone's got an opinion, you know. I was just kind of curious. We have the luxury of sending a hash table over in this particular case. But like, for example, with Azure Key Vault, I don't. However, I can send tags over. So, you know, it's really up to preference. Like, what the name could be, if you think about it, from an automation perspective, like if I'm doing Key Vault and managed service identities with my VM and all that, where I can actually automate all this, maybe I want the name of the secret to be just the platform I'm calling, you know, ServiceNow or SailPoint, right?
Yeah, I understand that. And I would say that that's probably a bigger concern when you go back to the idea that someone said, oh, well, we can have a common database and we can stick it on a shared drive and we can have multiple administrators panging away in there. Remember, this is a user-specific database that's in my user profile, right? So, I mean, look, you're certainly not wrong. You're definitely taking a more secure posture than I am. But my thought process here is on my work machine, I have all my credentials start with cred. I have a couple of tenant IDs and different crap like that. And I just want to be able to go cred, you know, and get through the ones that I've saved to a variable for a session really easy. That's just me being anal and trying to stick stuff together that have common features. But yeah, I get your point. I could have made them a little bit more generic or flavor, you know, no flavor kind of. All right, so I see people starting to drop off here. So I should probably say thanks for sticking around. I kind of hacked this together. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't have anything else to demo, but I'm definitely happy to stick around for more questions if there's anybody that wants to review something. But that's what I had for tonight, and I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thanks, Mike. You're a great presenter, as always.
Thanks, man. And I would disagree. That felt super rough, but I made it 2 days ago. So,
wow.
Well, thank you very much for presenting for us.
Hey, man. I'm trying to live by my own. You know, when I run my group, I keep saying like, you don't have to be polished and perfect. You know, it's anybody just get up and do something. So that's kind of what I did. You know, with June Blender and Jeff Hicks here, I would like to make a better polished presentation, but we had something to talk about. So that was good.
Yeah, I thought that was June.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
messaged on, she said something on Twitter today that made it seem like she was going to be coming. So it's too bad her mic wasn't working. I wanted to talk to her.